Hey, what's going on, everybody? All in the channel, host Sega Forever here. Catching up on some of the Xbox news that I've been following for the last couple of weeks. As I told you guys in my previous video, this is something that I wanted to talk about, but I've been busy at work. I worked a lot of long hours over the last couple of weeks. Good for the pocketbook, good for the time off. But one of the things that I got hit on was not being able to play my Game Pass games, which I'm slowly getting back into, or at least trying to. Man, that back catalog of games that they're releasing, on top of my own personal back catalog of games, just continues to grow. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are kind of the same boat as I am, and it's getting to the point now that I'm finding myself actually planning when to play games, which I can't stand. I don't want to turn this thing into a job. Just like with these videos, man. When I do a lot of these videos, I do it off the cuff, on the fly. But this news broke a couple weeks ago, and I know I'm a little bit behind on it, but I did want to share my thoughts, right? But basically, it's about Game Pass subscriber count supposedly being at 30 million. At least that's what the Take-Two CEO let slip in an interview with him and Phil Spencer. I can't remember the name of the show they were on. They kind of made an off-the-cuff comment about Game Pass being at 30 million subscribers, which Microsoft has not confirmed. They have not denied it, but they have not confirmed it. And for a lot of reasons, man. I know a lot of you guys who follow this stuff as closely as I do are in the know when it comes to this kind of stuff. You consume, regardless of how busy we are, whether gaming or just regular life, and we kind of keep up with these things. At least I know I do. I know a lot of you guys that follow me do, especially on the Xbox side. So, when he mentioned that, and like I said, Phil didn't deny or confirm, but he did pull, basically the company line. He told the company line, basically said that their last official announcement was 18 million. Now that was a while ago, and you as well as I know, if you just do a simple look at what everybody's playing on your timeline, especially for me, when I got 100 local people on my timeline and stuff like that on Xbox, and you can see it, dude. You can see that this stuff kind of moves in waves, especially when there's new games released. Now, an argument can be made like how much people are actually playing the game, how long they're playing it. Um, if people are actually buying the game, if people are subscribed and paying the monthly fee, or if they're like me, that you maxed out your Xbox Live so much that you actually got the Game Pass transferred over, and you still got months before your Game Pass runs out. I actually got Game Pass from my daughter. She liked it so much, so I'm still paying, which is fine. You guys know all the little things you can do. You can do Bing. There's a lot of things Microsoft offers as far as deals when it comes to Game Pass and the subscription service and stuff like that. So for me, when Microsoft says something like 18 million, or if it is the 30 million, I tend to look at it in the terms of it being active, right? It could be more than what it is, but I don't think Microsoft will focus on that because they want that, they want that bottom line, they want that real money, those real figures, which I think is really smart. Microsoft being the business that it is. But the 30 million is not out of the realm of possibility for me, just for the simple fact of the popularity of Game Pass, and not amongst the Xbox people, but guys like myself who are hardcore Xbox. Game Pass is basically a reprieve in this console war. As you guys know, man, since 2013, we've been getting hammered every year, nonstop. It's like every day of the year, every year, for years, until Phil Spencer took over and in 2015 started to make these minor adjustments. And even with those adjustments, man, people would still be hating on Xbox, hating on Phil Spencer, hating on Microsoft, gaming media, Sony ponies, the average gamer who just goes along with what the gaming media narrative is at the time, what's popular. So dealing with that all these years, man, and then seeing how Game Pass is changing that narrative, which it is, man. I mean, just you can see it, dude. It's popular. It's changing the narrative with gaming journalism, not completely, but enough to make a dent. The guys on the other side, man, the Sony ponies are just going nuts. When it comes to Game Pass, all the stuff that they're talking about, the videos they're making, man, it's kind of sad, to be honest with you. That it's basically Game Pass is living rent free in their head, and then the big takeaway is just that the average gamer or the average consumer is coming over to Game Pass because of its value, or because the variety of games, the amount of games, the quality even of the games. Game Pass is no fluke, man. Microsoft has really hit a home run with this service. I mean, they've been working on it for a couple of years. It didn't take off at first. A lot of people were hating on it for when it first came into fruition, a lot of people were talking all kind of trash about Game Pass. And look, I'm not trying to say that Game Pass doesn't have some hurdles in the future, but the future definitely looks bright for it. And we can get into the nitty gritty of some of the stuff I think Game Pass needs to do. But basically, I just wanted to talk about the subscription service today being at 30 million. Because if you're an Xbox guy like me, or if you're just a regular gamer, okay, if you're a regular gamer, this should make you happy. But specifically, if you're an Xbox guy like myself, who's enjoying Game Pass, who's enjoying how the service is as far as variety, amount of games, quality of the games. It's a no-brainer, man. You should love this. You should love this. And with Game Pass hitting 30 million, dude, that's a great sign. And it's something I want to talk about because I don't see a lot of people touching on this. Now, I've been talking about this in a couple other videos. I know my channel isn't that big, and I'll do it on social media as well. Because this is my whole perspective when it comes to Game Pass. Not just being a game changer as it is, as far as the narrative when it comes to gaming, but actually changing gaming. Man. This is a huge thing. This is about as big as when Microsoft actually took consoles online. I mean, I could see this thing being that much of a big game changer. I know people are paying attention to it and what it can do, and it's still a fledgling system as far as the successes it's been experiencing and the attention that it's been garnering. It's only been getting this love for a little over, probably almost like 2 years now, even though it's been in existence for longer than that. But people are taking notice, man, so much so that they're comparing it to Netflix. The Netflix of gaming is just here all the time. But for guys like us who have been in this game, man, the big takeaway that I want you to think about when it comes to this video is that subscriber count, man. Because when people started talking about it, like when Microsoft went ahead and bought Bethesda, now that was a big get. For somebody like me who kind of looks at the numbers and I take more of an analytical approach to the business at hand, especially when it comes to big stories like the purchasing of Bethesda and ZeniMax Online, again, which was huge, 7.5 billion. Even when that happened, man, people were like, "Well, what about exclusivity? Is Microsoft just going to keep everything on their side of the yard, not going to let anybody else play?" And it just blew my mind that people would talk that way because I just automatically would assume that they bought that for a reason. And the first thing that popped in my head was, of course, Game Pass. Microsoft, one of the things they get hit on is their content, or lack of content, right, that we hear all the time. AAA titles. I won't go into the whole thing of how I feel that doesn't matter. Not on the level that people make it out to be. Especially on the Sony side, right? That's all those guys got. That's why they use that as a weapon in their console, as a narrative. Right, but for me personally, I think it's great to have AAA titles, but I don't think they're the be-all and end-all. And in some instances, when I look at Microsoft, I think they think the same way as well. And one thing I like about what they do is they do it from a more business perspective, so they can see that there's value there, but not on the level that people think it is. And this is why you have Game Pass, and you have Game Pass basically as it is now, this day and date. The way that they approach things, independent games, right? You can either buy the game or just play it or just be in the subscription service. You don't have to buy those games, right? Because they're also pushing the subscription service. They're trying to cover all their bases because they're looking at the bigger picture. And it kind of shocked me, man, that a lot of these people that are in the industry, especially the guys who are in the journalism side of the industry, supposed to track this stuff, couldn't see it. It kind of blew me away. And it's something that me and we did a video on this, talked about it. I think it was last year, or maybe last year when it happened. Or maybe it was a couple of months ago in the beginning of the year. But it just shocked me that people couldn't see what Microsoft is doing, man. Because basically, if they're going to do the subscriber count, and if it's 30 million, dude, what it boils down to is they need content. They need content. That's all. I've been saying that for months now. It's content, content, content. That's all it's about. Now you want the content, but you also want the quality, which they're delivering, man. This is why they're doing the AAA studios that are not their own. This is why they went so deep into ID at Xbox, man. That's one of the things that got hammered back in 2013, 2014 when the when this new console generation started, or current console generation started. They were nailed on that side, especially by the Sony guys. And again, that was just a talking point, man. We all know this because Sony doesn't really focus on the indie games anymore. They put it on the console, but it's not the focus, not like how it was before, because it's whatever it is that gives them the upper hand in a narrative, not even in reality. I'm talking about the narrative. Like how these guys love AAA titles or they love story-driven games, but they don't buy the games. Right? I talked about this, kind of touched on it in my last video. Right? It's all about the narrative and the perspective. And the perspective is skewed, so I'm glad Microsoft didn't follow suit. They didn't follow these guys. They don't listen to the talking heads because they're wrong. And you can see that they're wrong because of Game Pass. They listen to their critics, right? They listen to their fans. They make their adjustments, but they also saw at what pace the industry is going. And I would rely on Microsoft more. And that's not just me being a corporate shell, man. I'm just looking at their history, man. These guys have been the trendsetters in video games for decades now, for at least 2 decades. Right? There has been nobody else. The last person that's been like that is Sega, right? And it's Sega when they went out of business as far as on the console side. And even in some respects, the software side, man, it's taken them a lot to kind of find themselves, man. Once they left the console, man, that's why I tell Nintendo guys, never give up the ghost, man. Never give up the console. Always try and stay in hardware. Because Sega had to basically, they went for a broad range, and with that broad range, trying to appeal to a lot of different people, there's a lot of hassles with it, man. You kind of lose your identity, is what I'm trying to say. So in retrospect, man, it's kind of good that Microsoft is the way they are, dude. I mean, they really don't have that identity to worry about. It's the same thing like anything else in pop culture, man. You have a certain identity, you have a certain fan base, they expect certain things. But with Microsoft, they don't always have to stick by that. And they get so much hate, it's actually like a shield for them to take the risk and stuff like that. Which I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think they're as conniving as people think they are, man. In fact, I wish they were a little bit more conniving, if you want me to be honest. But they do it with a wink and a smile. And so with them, forging their own path, man, this is why we're at where we're at now. It's interesting to me that a lot of the Sony guys are hating on this stuff when they actually helped Microsoft build this. They actually, with all the hate that they were getting and all the way they would push the narrative, especially on social media, Microsoft stepped up like they said they would. A lot of the stuff Phil Spencer said he would do, he's done and continues to do right now. So if you're a person like me who's been through all of this, right, I've seen it since 2013 and sitting where we are now, man, this 30 million subscriber count is huge, man. Because like I said, when this first happened, I feel people aren't getting the big picture. And that's why I'm doing this video, right? 30 million subscriber count is all about market share. I said this again, man, on top of all the time I say content, it's market share. Because a lot of the people, when the Bethesda deal went through, was saying that Microsoft can make a lot of money by doing both sides. I mean, that's not necessarily true. Just think of it this way, man. If Microsoft is sitting at 30 million, which again, in my personal opinion, I think they are. In fact, I think they might be a little bit higher. The only thing I think that's killing them right now is that they don't have the consoles in the store. Because I know a lot of people cut it however way you want to, man. When people think of Xbox, they think of the console, right? And then people in the know, like myself and other people, like a little bit more savvy when it comes to gaming, they know about the subscription, they know about the second screen and the various stuff like that you can participate on. But at its core, Microsoft is a console, the Xbox. Everybody knows the Xbox as a video game console. So I wish they were, I wish they would have listened to our President Trump, man, when he was telling these businesses to bring their companies back to the U.S., man. I mean, a lot of times, man, they've been doing so much stuff over swinging, man. The pendulum was swinging the other way. That's why you find us in this situation as a country, anyway. With the shortages that we're having right now, because everything's always made. We rely too much on stuff being made overseas. And I know Microsoft is kind of looking at that. I know Satya Nadella was meeting with the White House at that time, looking at the business plan and stuff like that. But if they just would have shipped it back in enough time, get those consoles, man, they'd be further ahead, in my humble opinion. Because like I said, man, Xbox is about still a video game console. That's what the average person will identify with, right? So if you're looking at that 30 million, man, it's all about the market share. So in other words, you have 30 million right now. Who's to say by the end of the year they're at 40 million, right? And then if it continues to snowball, Microsoft hasn't even put out their own AAA titles. Who knows what other kind of deals they're going to be making? They just released Avengers, right? They just released Avengers into Game Pass. I actually got to play it. I really wasn't looking forward to playing it. That's why I didn't go out and buy it. Mainly because of Kamala Khan's character, which I find it kind of vanilla. But by putting it on Game Pass, I could try it, and it was actually good that they did, because a lot of the stuff that they did wrong in the comic books, as far as what Marvel's been doing, I mean, talking about the comic books now, what Marvel's been doing, I don't like. But at least in the game, they kind of they took it back to a little bit of what it's supposed to be about the heroes, about what's actually going on in the story. Mechanics and stuff aside, I haven't played it enough to give it a full review. But I just want to say that I'm pleasantly surprised. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. The story is a lot more better. Kamala Khan in the comic, or in the game, as opposed to the comic, is a little bit more interesting to me. She's not no SJW type, trying to stuff her stuff down your throat, whoever the writer is at the time. They're not doing that in the game, and it's so some people might not like it, um, because they might feel like it's a little bit vanilla in that sense. But to me, they're going to comic book trope, which is true. You're basically she's a conduit for a person that might not know who the Avengers are or just dabble in the Marvel universe. Like maybe you watch the movies, but you don't know anything about the history, the lore, the mythology, the world building, none of that. Okay. Um, so she's your conduit into the characters and into the world that they're built, which is actually pretty cool. I'm kind of like iffy on the AIM thing because I'm a huge fan of AIM from comic books. The way they're represented in there, it's it is what it is. It's okay. Anyway, I'm not going to get on a tangent on that. Just to say that you don't know what Microsoft is going to do. Who knows what's going to happen next week? That Avengers thing was kind of like on the fly. The Scarlet Nexus thing, not surprising, because Scarlet Nexus also got released into Game Pass. Not surprising because of Tokyo Game Show. And I'll talk about my thoughts on Tokyo Game Show. Actually, I absolutely loved it. And I loved it in the sense the presentation was good. I like the consistency that Microsoft is doing when it comes to their conferences or events and stuff like that. Um, but I'm talking about future prognosis of what Microsoft is doing as far as Japan and Asia in general, man. So I'll do a separate video on that. It'll make this one already too long. It'll make it even longer. Um, but yeah, so that's the focus, right? You get that stuff, so people are excited because every day is like Christmas when it comes to Game Pass, man. I get notifications on my phone. It's crazy. There's a point where I'm like, dude, this is just way too much, and there's no way I'm going to be able to play all these games. So you got to pick and choose, of course. But it's great to have that option. It's great to have that choice. Right? And that's what Microsoft knows, right? So at this point, man, at 30 million, if they get to 40 by the end of the year, and hopefully they'll get to 50. I'm hoping that 30 million is high and that they're already up to, if they constantly add subscribers at the pace they're at, man, by the end of the year, especially the holiday season, like I said, Microsoft releasing their own titles, it could hit that 50. And once it hits that 50, man, you don't have to worry about anything else, man. Like I said, market share. What's the point of releasing your games or sharing with other consoles and other companies um, if everybody's on your console? If everybody's in your ecosystem, that's what people are not looking at right now. There's a possibility that you could have like a Disney Plus or even a Netflix style service, right? Where everybody Netflix, like that's the thing with Netflix. People are challenging Netflix, and there's people that are surviving off of Netflix, but it's hard to be Netflix because everybody's just in Netflix, right? And there's ebbs and flows with Netflix with their subscription services and stuff like that. And there's things that they have to do to keep themselves relevant. But just the simple fact that they were the first one to do it, right? And that everybody's just so used to it. You're just used to that money getting taken out of your account. Even if you're not watching stuff for months, man, because you never know when something's going to hit. And that's what Microsoft is doing. It's a little bit more difficult with Microsoft just for the simple fact that the gaming experience and the Netflix experience is a little bit different. Some of these games can be wrong. They put all kind of games in there. One of the concerns I had with Microsoft, I just thought it would be a nice thing to have, with indie games, and no, they put in the Final Fantasies in there. Dude, they're gonna put in like these games that are massive storytelling games. Like all the stuff they put in from Bethesda. I'm talking about hours upon days upon weeks upon months of content that you can play, right? And for some people, like I said, I'm not gonna get into the weeds on that. We can do a separate video on that, but there's a method to the madness, right? And that method is actually driving the console, or not the console, but the subscriber numbers on Game Pass. Which again, you want this as an Xbox guy. If you love Game Pass like me, right? The more people that play, the more money they make, the more they can invest back into the system, which is better for everybody. Or at least us guys on the Xbox side, or the casual gamer on the Xbox side, is switching over as they are right now. And getting into Game Pass because they like the fact that they could just open Game Pass and there'd be a ton of games across every spectrum. For all of you guys who love diversity, there's nothing more diverse right now than Game Pass. I've been playing so many weird different games. And the interesting thing that I think Microsoft does, which I pick up on, but I appreciate, some people might not like, is like if you play certain games in Game Pass, it's just not the developer there. It's not just Microsoft and the ecosystem, man. It's also the developer that Microsoft, there's a game I'm playing that I got totally addicted on because it's the type of game I like. And what ended up happening, I forgot the other game I was playing, and Microsoft, of course, picked up that I liked this game. And then they were like, oh, why don't you try this one? I think it was the Dragon Quest one, the Builders, World Builders 2. And then through that, it kind of recommended Wild 8. It was like in a list of games, and it caught my eye. And then I ended up watching the trailer. Then I watched videos on it, and I was like, yeah, this is something I like, and I ended up buying it just right off the thing. Luckily for me, it was on sale. Right, I only paid $9 for it. I think it's normally like 20 or 20 something dollars, 24.99. And that's another thing too with Game Pass, man. You can save a lot of money with it. Of course, look, man. I know before anybody attacks me on this, you're already paying a subscription service, right? Okay, when people say this stuff is free, basically free, kind of, sort of. You just don't feel it as much when it's like $14.99. That's what I pay at least, or $9.99 is what you pay. Right. If you just got the basic, I got both because there's stuff I like to do on my PC as well. Some of these games I like to play with a keyboard and mouse, especially when it comes to like the RTSs and stuff like that. Right, like the Age of Empires coming up soon. I'll probably haven't played Age of Empires in a millennium. In fact, I should go back and play Age of Empires 2. I believe it's on Gamepass on the PC, so I should go back and play it. But yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man, that 30 million, it's a huge deal. And I know people have been covering it. I think they've been covering it for the wrong reasons. Some of the stuff, especially on the Xbox side. Now, some of these so-called Xbox dudes, man, I don't think they do the deep dive when it comes to this kind of stuff. That's why you should watch a lot of different people. And I'm not telling you this just so I can get my subscriber count on it or can get my video views up there with the big dogs. You know, I don't really care about that. But you just need a lot. You just like anything else, man. Whether it's politics, finances, um, you need to pull from a lot of different resources because you need a lot of different perspectives and then opinions. Whether you agree with the opinions or not, man, this is not a cancel culture thing, right? You need that freedom of speech so that you can know what a person's thinking. That's one thing I appreciate about the Sony guys. They tell you what they're thinking. Those dudes are freaking. They're believers, man. They are true believers. They're true believers. Now they might get pissed with what happened with Jim Ryan was trying to soften them up for the big blow that's coming, and they'll probably lose all their minds, man. I mean, it's gonna be. Dude, it's gonna be crazy, man. I'll probably stay off of the social media. I don't even go to their sites, and we still get involved with their crap, dude. But it's gonna be. These dudes are gonna lose their mind once they realize that Microsoft is basically hacked up to unlimited productions. He was talking about this. How Sony copies Microsoft, especially when it's something successful, and that's the road we're going. That's the road we're going now. But anyway, man, sorry the video is long. I just wanted to ramble on about this because it's something I wanted to talk about. Next video will probably be about superhero games and the need or not need. If you notice how the gaming industry moves in trends, and then for some reason, in one breath, a lot of people who hate Microsoft say it's going to fail on this, and then the second breath, they're like, oh yeah, but it needs superhero games to survive. I'm pretty sure Microsoft is going by the beat of their own drum, which is what they need to do. Shout out to all the guys that work over there that are, they're not followers, man, they're pioneers, they're being visionaries in their craft. That's one thing I do like about Microsoft. I mean, it can be kind of sketchy sometimes, man, when you go the artistic route, man. You guys come up with these fruity ideas and stuff like that. This kumbaya crap, but it want to include everybody. Look, man, not everybody's going to like you. But thanks to Satya and thanks to Phil, man, they told that line. They can be a little bit fantastical, but it's steeped in realism. And that's something I got to thank the Sony ponies for, man. Thank you guys for that. Thank you for the hateful gaming media. You're the ones that basically get Microsoft in check because you reminded Microsoft every time they tried to do something how much you hate them. And we benefited from that. So absolutely love that. Wow, 20 minutes. I guess I have more to say than I want. I don't know. I don't mind so much time, but it's going to take like 5 years to download this video. So hopefully you guys get it today. Anyway, all in channel. More videos coming. Probably do a podcast soon. To get my live stream stuff up and running. And yeah, so anyway, all in channel. Stay forever. We out.